Hi there. Welcome to day 16, I think now, of the COVID-19 A to Z of Leader. Today we're on the letter O, and I'm really pleased to invite a friend on again. It's been a week since we had Jen Ellis on. Today I've got my colleague from the Royal Opera Chorus, John Morrissey. Hey, John.
Hello there. Hello, young Tim.
John's become a whiz on Zoom chats. I'm glad we managed to get into his busy Zoom.
Yeah, I'm like a silver surfer. No, I didn't know what Zoom was till about a week ago. Now Zoom has taken over the world. So.
No, we're now all obsessed, and we're all using it for free still. So,
Oh,
anyway, oh no. Anyway, so today we're introducing you to a song called O Tod, which is O Death, and it's the third song from set 4 by Johannes Brahms, the 4 serious songs. We've not yet actually had any Brahms songs, so it's really exciting. There's going to be some more as well, because Brahms is a composer who I've sung a lot of. He is actually a great leader composer to get into, I think, as a singer before Schubert and Schumann. That was some advice I received when I was younger, because there was this very broad lyricism that encourages great singing, that it's not quite as dainty and light, gently, not as delicate, I suppose, as some Schubert and Schumann can be. And when you're trying to find your way learning to sing, those things can take you down the wrong routes. So yeah, Brahms has been a staple of what I've worked on musically for a long while, but the 4 serious songs are not something I'm familiar with, because they are written for lower voice, specifically for lower male voice, I believe, originally. So that's why we got John on. He's performed them a couple of times. He's a bass in the Royal Opera Chorus, and we're going to see where this conversation goes. So, John, do you want to take us away and tell us a little bit about your experience of these songs?
Okay. Well, what I know about the actual songs themselves, the composition, is that I think I'm right in saying this. This is always dangerous, but I think they're the last songs he ever wrote, and they were a couple of years before he died. So they're really like his 4 last songs, like Strauss's 4 last songs. And they're like everything that Brahms wrote, which was why his music is still popular. It's all from the heart, and it's his little doctrine on life, I think, because pretty much everything he wrote was about love. I think pretty much everything he wrote was dedicated to Clara Schumann in some way or another. There always had a bit in it which is about Clara Schumann, and I think this is no exception, because the last song of the 4 is about the love is the greatest charity, or which way you want to put it, is the greatest of anything, and the reason for being alive. The first 3 songs are a little darker, and like pretty much everything a bass sings, it's all quite grim. But yeah, they're what appealed to me about them was that I'm a big lover of Brahms music anyway, and I came into Brahms music through his orchestral music, is that they are unrelentingly symphonic, and the piano is very huge. The piano is like, it's like the hardest piano sonata you could ever write. The accompanists that I've had have really struggled. I mean, not with playing them, but with just the stamina of it.
Yeah.
Especially the first song in particular is really hard to play. And not everybody loves Brahms. It's weird. I have a friend who wouldn't come to the concert, because the concert that I did these songs in was an all Brahms concert, and he wouldn't come to the concert because, and this is a quote, Brahms music makes him feel sick.
So funny.
So I couldn't get my head around that.
Oh, I can't quite get my head around that,
but I think, I mean, some of Brahms' music can be odd. I mean, the 4th Symphony with all those weird sort of syncopations and everything is a strange thing. And this has his trademark huge chords, pounding chords. He's unapologetic about that. If you don't like it, then don't listen to me. That's what he's saying. I'm a German. This is what we do, sort of thing. So by the time you get to the 3rd song, the one we're talking about today, O Tod, you've sung almost like a Shana. The first song is like an old prophet telling the world that if you don't do this, you're going to end up, in a bad place. The 2nd song, very mystical, very beautiful, very heartfelt. The 3rd song immediate sort of I can't remember the key thing. It's just Tim, you'll have to tell me. But there's a very these songs are definitely, I don't think, supposed to be sung separately, because the change from the second song into the third song is so dramatic that I think he's deliberately saying, right, enough of that dreamy stuff. Here's death.
Yeah, well, it's in the score I have. We go from I'm not apologise if tempo's wrong. We have this is the end of our song before. Piano's off. That's good. Try it again. Just giving away it's not a real one. We have this.
I think your piano sounds a little odd, Tim. A little. Sorry to interrupt you, but it just sounded a little bit weird then when you were playing. Just sound.
Okay, right. We can. We'll cut this. We'll cut this bit out. And what is it? Because it's low, maybe.
No. I mean, just try it again. That's better.
It was just a bit too loud. Okay, so.
Is that what it is? It keeps sort of slightly breaking up a little bit. But it's fine.
There you go.
Let's keep these technical things in. You know what
Let's
I mean?
keep it in. Okay, it's in.
Tim, I'm not a TV presenter. You're not a TV presenter.
Yeah.
We're not on Panorama.
So here we go. Let's listen to that again.
O Tod. Is that the right note?
Yeah, bang on. Well done.
Oh my God, because that is scary. That is scary. That's me just getting used to it, because that is a scary moment, because it's such a moment you don't want the pianist going like that, because it's naff. So
yeah.
you're sort of in the streamy thing, you're thinking, if I came out on the wrong note, it's really going to screw it up. So yes, obviously I remember it after all these years.
I'm doing some screen sharing.
Okay.
We can actually see what happens here. So this is the bit we just played. And what we get is this, we've got this G pedal in the bass. And all these different dissonances working around it. So we have diminished chords, very Mahler-y there. And then we resolve into G major. And we get 3 utterances of that. And then this really nice full chord. And then, and this is for our audience, more than for you, John, obviously, because you know it's a difficult song, because we actually begin. There we go. I was missing on my screen. We actually begin with the voice on its own, which, like you say, it has a really profound impact. So we're in G major, and so you're singing a B, which should feel like a familiar note to do, but there's something about the fact that there's nothing with it, and also the fact that when you come onto the G, because you're actually singing the third and the first degree of the chord from the song before, but Brahms drops us into the relative minor. But like you say, I think because of the shape, we can actually see on one of the first observations I've had about this is that we've got this thing that Brahms does a lot, where he has these shapes which are actually really clear. You know, we actually can see the composition at work of this sequence of dum dum bum 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 going on, and it seems almost too simple, but the effect, because it is really stark. So I think that's
because this. Can you quickly go to the beginning of the first song, because that is basically how the first song goes.
There you go.
The second song, sorry, did I say
second song? Second song. And that also reminds me, you mentioned the Fourth Symphony before.
Totally, yeah. That's probably some theme that he's for some special meaning.
Yes, absolutely. And then he gives us, like John says, it really is like a piano sonata. We can see that looks so simple, but we have the piano going. And there's one thing doing it like that, slow and out of tempo, and making it sound like a honky tonk, but to actually do that and create a sense of line, it requires incredible skill. Yes,
and you're floating, very floaty song, so you're floating along over the top of it, because it's about him wandering through the world and looking at all the unhappiness in the world and wondering, is it all worth it? It's not a happy thing. But I think that just points out that if you just listen to any of these songs on their own, then they're great, they're fine. But he was a symphonist.
Yeah.
And they're symphonic. They're a 4-movement symphony for the voice.
I was going to ask, there's a significant...
He includes themes, references, and then you get this mainly major ending, jolly, about the virtues of love, which is like the triumphal end of a symphony. So it's not surprising. It has been orchestrated a few times. Yeah,
and it's probably no accident that he chose 4 texts to do this.
Yeah.
No. You know, you could
argue
how he thought. It is a vocal symphony in a sense. So that's something we've spoken about. When we spoke about Beethoven, we were talking about how both Andi Hoffnung and Andi Ferner-Geliebter are examples of form that we've not really seen before, and that idea of like a symphonic set of songs, that is really, that's elevating song composition into the concert hall. And something I was reading the other day was about leads in the mid-century between the Schubert-Schumann flurry, and then people trying to fill the gap, a bit like post-Beethoven with the symphony, when people were like, oh, can we do it? And unsurprisingly, Brahms was the person that actually kind of did both of these things. And what started to happen was that this music, which was only kind of for the middle classes and to be sung in salons and people's homes, started to get performed in the concert hall and taken, like we see it today on the stage, and it's all very lofty and snuffboxy, but it didn't have that reputation at all. So to have a serious composer like Brahms treating the song in this way is no small thing, is it? It's a big deal.
No, not at all. It's definitely moved into a level along with the symphony of, if you want to call it high music or whatever. I mean, Brahms, and I included some of these in the Brahms program that I did. Brahms wrote some very simple folk songs as well, very strophic, incredibly hard to learn, took me forever, like a lot of strophic songs. So he wrote quite a lot of light music, but this is him taking the song and turning it into something. This isn't just for ladies in crinolines to sit around sort of not just ladies and ladies and to sort of take the whole thing, oh yes, that was diverting, this is to be sit and listen to. This is him. This is the Bible. I mean, he's setting the Bible.
So that's a really important.
First 3 movements are the Old Testament, and unsurprisingly, the last movement is the New Testament.
So that's a really fascinating thing. So we've been looking at all sorts of different songs, and we've seen there's a lot of poets in common. We get a lot of Heine, we get a lot of Goethe and Eichendorff, but this is something, I don't know another example of this. I'm sure there are, but this is definitely the most forward example. Like, these are settings from the Lutheran Bible, and I think that shows, just like you were saying, John, like that shows a real specificity of selection here, because this isn't like choosing, not that Schumann chose 16, well, 8, he chose more, but he settled on having set 16 poems from Heine's. I can't remember.
I'm just going to I'm just going to shut the door open because a lovely little girl downstairs. I'm just going to shut the door.
COVID, people going crazy. Do that, John. Yeah, so Schumann selected from a set of like 48 texts. To go from the entire Bible.
Okay, go on.
Go from the entire Bible and select these very specific bits of text.
Yeah.
it's almost compositional selection of words as well, isn't it? From such source material.
Yeah. I think these were parts of the Bible that were speaking to him directly at this time. I think he was one of these composers who I don't think he was a particularly troubled man, but there's a very romantic story about him and Clara Schumann and Brahms, this sort of triangle of love.
Should we talk a little bit about that? Because our viewers, all dozen of them, we've looked at a lot of Schumann, and you know, and anyone that's watched this knows by now I absolutely love the stuff.
Yeah.
But so you notice that name Clara Schumann. Many people may not know that was Robert Schumann's wife. So we spoke about Robert who suffered an enormous deal with mental health issues, increasingly deteriorating throughout his life. But he had this kind of woeful, like, forbidden love with Clara Schumann, and her father stood in the way, and we spoke about in Dichterliebe the letters that they were sending to each other and how that echoed Heine's poetry. But then you enter Johannes Brahms as a sort of third character in this tale, because he was absolutely enamoured by Clara.
Well, I think they both fell in love with him because they'd heard about him. Because if you look at everybody thinks of Brahms with the big beard and the sort of like Father Christmas type character. But when he was young, he was very dashing and he had long hair. I think it was blondie hair. And he just walked in, this absolute musical genius, started playing for Robert Schumann. And they both realized that he was a genius, and he fell in love with them. They fell in love with him. He fell in love with both of them. It wasn't I don't think it was a question of him and Clara carrying on behind Robert's back. Robert had serious problems, and he was aware of them. And Brahms was incredibly supportive. And I think I'm right in saying that they never did anything. I don't think they ever did anything, but they had this bond. I think they had a bond of love for Robert Schumann and Robert Schumann's music. And he was incredible. If he walked in, sat down, and started flinging his hands around, you just...
Yeah, so this is young Brahms. He is very dashing, isn't he?
If you listen to his early piano pieces as well, like his rhapsodies, because his early piano music is very, it's kind of listy and all that sort of thing. And, well, not listy, no, it's a bit more structured than that, but it's very sort of fiery young man. Romantic.
Yeah, we see here what John was saying about young Brahms versus old Brahms.
Oh, yeah. You can see the nose is the same.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to see that sort of stuff. Okay, so now more specifically about O Tod, because that's our letter O, and we don't want to cheat. Yeah. What I think I might do, my iPad is becoming increasingly flimsy on battery. I'm going to use the share screen to look at the score so we don't... lose it, if I can find it. That is, it's disappeared. No, it hasn't. Somewhere. This is all the magic. There you go. So I'm going to keep this up so we can kind of both refer to it. Have you got that?
I've got some login for. That's it. I've got it now. Yeah, I've got it now.
Brilliant. So it's all my personal details before. So the first.
They're the top. Oh no, I thought Jesus. Oh, Jesus Sirach. Of course, that's the Bible. I was getting distracted by that at the top there. Yeah, sorry, Tim, carry on.
That's all right. So let's maybe just have a little chat through the song and show people the basic kind of makeup of it, how it's put together. Okay. And just butt in any time. John will talk about kind of the experience. I'm interested in the experience of your singing of it, how you feel the text setting works. And John, before we started recording, made a couple of really interesting observations about some of the structural elements as well, and the middle section. So the first thing that occurs to me is that the text is O Tod, wie bitter bist du, wenn an dich gedenket ein Mensch. So, O death, how bitter is the remembrance of thee to a man that liveth at rest in his possessions. So it's very biblical. But what I'm trying to highlight is the fact that in the original Ecclesiasticus text, we have O Tod, wie bitter bist du once. And here, Brahms immediately takes the poetic liberty of repeating both of these words. And we can see, we spoke about sequence, we have this gradually increasing tension, don't we? It starts loud with. Do you want to give us the first couple of notes? We probably won't be able to get together on Zoom, but you can start us off, and then I'll show the sequence.
O Tod, O Tod, yeah, I forgot what that was.
So what time are we recording this? Early. Nice one. So yeah, we see it is an intense build-up. So O Tod, O Tod. And I think that F sharp major chord is very bracing. To go from, like John said, we've ended up the song before here, G major, and within 4 seconds we have F sharp major, so a semitone out. He's taken us away immediately.
And that's about the word bitter, obviously. He's trying to, because it's really hard not to sing that and just not sound really self-pitying and it's like, and it's like somebody, they've just been told they've got 2 months to live, and they've just basically bought the house of their dreams, and they've got their wife, met the partner of their dreams, and they've just been told, well, you're going to die in 2 weeks. I mean, that is enough to make anybody bitter, isn't it? So, and that's basically what he's saying here. When you've got everything, death is a very bitter thing, and I think he uses that there, especially on the bitter, to it's a wail.
Yeah, absolutely. When you can see the shapes and the way it displaces itself as a rhythm. It is something that kind of is uncontrolled, and I just love that. I also love the fact that the first one is the more dramatic one, and then the second one takes us somewhere new. So that sounds a bit like this. We might not be able to do this across, so I'll just kind of mark through it. We get and that's quite an amazing place to end up. So I think what's amazing about this beginning section is harmonically we go on this huge journey. So we have this half diminished. Do I mean that? I do mean half diminished.
You're asking the wrong person.
I believe that's right, because we've got minor third stacked, but then we have a major third. So we get, and that's something that Brahms does a lot. That sort of harmony, I know that from some of his other songs. So he sinks down, alternating between minor and major chords, taking us into the depths. And there's something really symmetrical about that, so we can keep traveling. We're back in the G and E minor feeling. Then we have diminished again to destabilize us, back to E minor, A major, and then B major.
These are very radical, and he's very unsung as a what's the word? What's the word when you sort of break ground and
an innovator.
Yeah, an innovator in towards the sort of the late German romantic Schoenberg, and Schoenberg loved Brahms because a lot of his pieces, because they're wrapped in this romantic tuneful thing, but a lot of them are very experimental with syncopation, and like you've just demonstrated, with the actual keys that go under it. And so he was very experimental. I mean, not to where you make you want to not listen, or that he was trying to deliberately make ugly sounds, but he was pushing things a lot.
Much like your beloved Beethoven's the same.
Yes.
And there's something I particularly love is actually, I spoke the other day about how good music looks good on the page. And you see here how few notes there are actually each chord is 4 notes, and yet the way he voices them, where he puts the different notes in the harmony, makes it feel so rich, even though it's very sparse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect because he stays out of the way where the voice is. You sit right in the middle of it as a bass.
Yeah.
Middle of all
Those bits.
it's in this same register. So then we get this incredible tune. It's quite amazing, isn't it? So
yeah. Can I just say that I think this section now is the entire middle of the song. It's a very, very, very long phrase that ends in a climax, and it starts quite gently with this kind of sort of him thinking about death, and it builds and builds and builds to another bit of anguish. And but this is kind of like the start of a crescendo, really.
Yeah, and we get a high F sharp towards the end, which is really, that's a high note for a bass voice, isn't it?
What when it goes? What? Oh yeah. Yes, that's kind of hard to sing as well. I do remember that being very hard to sing.
That's high.
Because the vowel as well. That's a bit technical. The vowel,
it's a short word. Like,
it's very easy to close off on that vowel.
So he's writing in a very dramatic style. I think that's another observation to make. Not something we really get so much in the early elite of even Schubert, Schumann. Even Schumann does it a bit, but that's much more kind of lyricism based, whereas here we actually get something that looks a bit more like opera, because we're moving within the voice into these things, these, like John says, we can see on the page. We get this, the piano starts us off, and then we get this melody.
Yeah, the thing about that und as well, a little technical thing, is that there's no real place to breathe.
No.
So because it's relentlessly, it sort of goes on from the it's sort of building an intensity, and then suddenly you've got this E, so you can't forget about that E, give it all away because you're
that is another thing to point out. So like I was reading again about this Lied in the mid-century. People were still viewing the Lied as something which should be easy to sing, something that should be easy to remember, easy to learn. And it was, it was kind of viewed as a music that like the amateur musician should be able to play and sing. And this is certainly not that, is it? As you've raised with the piano, it's exceptionally virtuosic, and also to sing it, you have to be thinking on this professional level to be able to.
Totally, you have to know what you're saying, and you have to know why you're saying it, and that dictates the pacing. And the thing is, if you know that he's getting, he said, I'm really, really bitter about this, then he starts to get a little bit philosophical. But just like if you were telling somebody that something was wrong, you say, no, the thing is, and then when you start saying it, then it all builds up again. And that's kind of what's happening. So there's a reason for it.
And Brahms does that. It's really clever, isn't it? Because we start, Brahms introduces the quaver figure. The first quavers in the piece come from this bit here where my mouse is hovering. So the piano has quavers, so it's funeral marchery, but then it introduces movement. You see, actually, the piano moves, then the voice takes on the quavers, and then it goes back to the piano, and then the voice. And so you get this constant movement, and what happens is the voice is moving more and more. It gives us that amazing sequence that John showed us. Takes us into a new height. And then he begins this new phrase. He begins it on the offbeat. So the quaver thing is continued. And then underneath, Graham gives us this huge, very forward-moving bass line, but with these punctuations, these sort of little stabs. It's almost the kind of classic.
Look at it now, because I haven't actually got like speed up or get more intense written into the score. I think that this was just something that came with doing it. Yeah. But I think maybe that's something that me and I actually sang it with my former boss Renato Balsadonna, and I think that just happened naturally, because something about the way that it seems to get harmonically strange that seems to suggest that he's getting more anxious.
That's another really good point. If we watch, if we look at the score again, so we kind of this John and I just kind of riffing here, but the rate of harmonic change changes a lot. Firstly, we start things changing on the minutes, and that carries on with this. But then when we get to this next speed, we feel like we're changing harmony on every quaver because the voicing is changing at least. We are changing harmony twice as fast.
And the mark at the end of that phrase has got an exclamation mark. So he is definitely, he's back in despair.
Could you sing us the "Und noch wohl essen mag" for us?
Und noch wohl essen mag.
So perfect for the bass voice, right?
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing so this can be sung by male or female voices. I'm sure you could transpose this up and sing it in a higher key, but I think it's one of those works where it would lose.
I've never heard a tenor sing it. I've never heard a tenor sing it. Have you?
I think the key,
a lot of baritones.
The key is so specific, and I think you'd lose a lot from the piano because of all of this murkiness. It's very deliberate. But yeah, so we hear
the baritone version is higher. It's higher, but not much higher.
But that is written for the bass voice, isn't it? That sort of effect is so, and again, so operatic. So so we've seen what he does. He speeds up the harmony. He makes it also. Not only does he speed it up, he goes from still quite tame harmony to the line below. Taking it slow because there's just so many notes always changing, so it really is. And then he gives us that massive pedal F sharp, and so the pedal G at the end of the song before feels a million miles away now. And then as we kind of both hinted, we get a recapitulation of that idea at the beginning of the second thing. O Tod, wie bitter bist du. And it's an exact repeat, isn't it?
Yeah. So you go back to the start again. So that's like a section. That's his setting. Because I think in the Bible, there's two contrasting phrases. They're quite short. And it's basically death is really bitter for those who are young, or not necessarily young, but have everything. But death can be a welcome relief for people who've just had enough. And this is the second section that we're going into now.
Okay. And you had an observation about what happens melodically in this new section. Do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, he basically turns it upside down. Not exactly, because we've got O Tod, and so he just basically, in a very sort of symmetrical way, he sort of goes. So he's turned it sort of upside down because he's kind of saying the opposite.
Yeah.
To what he was saying. So it's a bit.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on, John.
Yeah, no. So it's a simple thing, but and it's not immediately apparent. But like a lot of symphonic writers, a lot of all these things are the reasons why you love a piece. You may not actually know on the surface of your brain why you're loving it, but they know what they're doing. This is what makes it interesting. This is why they can write a piano sonata or a symphony for 45 minutes and you don't get bored, because there are things like this in it that you just discover every time you listen to it.
I love that. That's a perfect description of why this sort of analysis is exciting, because you know, like, some people, the more complex music gets, the harder it can feel to get in as a listener. And then people that love that music already will try and convince you of its virtues by going, yes, but look at these things. But like you say, like, they're the reasons you love it in this case. And it provides a real symmetry, doesn't it? Because the verse does begin on the same pitch class. It's on a B, but now it's low in the voice. So that's already a big change. And we get rid of our G naturals and we go into a G sharp. So it's such a bit, he's really highlighting that change. Something like that.
He's really in his consoling mood now. I mean, it's all the notes are, it's all right, mate, it's all right. You know, there's no more storm and train.
You know what? That is just that counter subject in the piano. So we're kind of, the piano is sort of replicating this soothing, these falling phrases, which then the voice does in a more lyrical way. So it is amazing. Genevieve, actually, who was on last week, and John and I work with, she said this, we were singing some Brahms, and she pointed out he almost has the composition on show for you and going, look how easy this is for me. And yet it shouldn't be as good as it is, but he just does it in the perfect way, so you can see the devices on the page.
But isn't it funny that he's one of the world's most popular composers, but then he's not pandering to an audience. It's difficult's the wrong word, but it's high art. But he's loved by people.
Stunning. It's stunning, you know, and it really nothing is taken for granted. No notes wasted. So we have this gorgeous section, and then we end with this almost cadenza-like thing here, don't we?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a mirror of the despairing phrases from the first half, but it's not. It's a different. So it's not the same kind of. It's not. I don't know. It's not like that. It's not bitter.
And I think harmonically he spells that out for us again. So we have. No, yeah, but it's that, isn't it? Quite a big clash note. And that, do you know that?
This section's quite. Sorry, Tim. I hope I'm not interrupting you, but I just get carried away when it's so amazing. But
we like, that's what we do on this show.
But you see, this section now varies in as many recordings, and as you can see, it is marked. Well, it's marked pianissimo in the piano, and quite a few recordings sort of go O Tod, like sort of angry.
Yeah, really lets
and then the second half of that they sing piano, but quite a few do what I did, because I mean, maybe in the back of my mind I was thinking, well, it's kind of easier, but Renato pointed out that I had a very good falsetto, a head voice, or if you want to call it that, and he said I think it's really nice when this entire section is sung quietly. And also I'm thinking, great, because maybe on the night I go, ah! Sing that toppy properly. So I sang that toppy, whatever it is. It's even higher, isn't it? I sang it in a falsetto.
Lovely. And I think that gives us this incredible different colour, doesn't it, then at the end? Yeah. There's something interesting as that, you know, these videos are not instructional videos at all about how to sing Lieder or how to think about it. But there is some. I think the reason it's so exciting and so Hector's in the background having a stroll.
Hello, Hector. This is my dog, Hector. He's
Oh,
had him for nearly 2 weeks now, and he's a little delicate because he had the snip yesterday. So.
Oh dear. Well, he's obviously
He's
a big
holding
fan of
against
Brahms.
me.
He
He
wants to
doesn't
be
hold it
involved.
against me. I think he's holding against me that I'm ignoring him all this time.
Oh yeah, he's like, why are you talking about Brahms? Talk about me. So yeah, the what we talked, you mentioned about, there's this thing where we make choices based on our kind of facility. Like we do have limitations, as all of us, and we have the kind of mental aspect of a performance.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing 4 songs and you have to know, I have to be able to sing it like this and then go and sing the next song, and all those sorts of things really do matter. But I think that's where you find the music from, in a sense. And you know, that then paints this music in a really clear light. We know that we're aiming for that ethereal, like high F sharp, a real extended technique. And that then
well, I mean, can I just say, because this is what a great musician I am, not because I've only just noticed you've actually got the baritone score there, and in my score, which is a low bass, that's an E. So I've only just noticed that.
Well, that's quite impressive that you were singing it then.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Is this the original key? Is this the original key?
I can't remember whether it was a baritone. I think it might have been a baritone who first sang it.
Let's go back.
It's definitely sung by basses in his time.
Yeah.
And I think
so that says we've got low voice. Let's pop to low voice because
Kathleen is very well. Low voice very often means the baritone as well, as I've noticed by ordering scores wrong online. Is that the same?
Yeah, this is better. This is better.
Yeah. So that's the score I use because that is my voice kind of thing. So that V is an E. So I could sing it fine.
That makes more sense.
But it was actually, I think we just both decided that after that, it's so nice to just come and sort of sing that whole section almost as quietly as I could, and then right to the end of the song, because there'd been quite enough sort of storm and dry. And then he goes, which bit? Then he goes, where are you?
Stunning, isn't it? And then he brings back that motif, the dun da dee, brings us to this place of
it's amazing stuff. It's heartbreaking. It really is. No, I can't believe that I was singing the baritone. No wonder that what I thought was a D seemed a bit scary.
That's quite impressive, to be honest, John. So there we go. That's O Tod, and I think that's a nice place. It's always nice to end when you hear this beautiful music that they finish with.
Have you got the next? Just play the opening of the next song, just to say why they should all be sung together. Just the piano.
God. Oh God.
Sorry. Go. Just the first 2 chords. Just the first part.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that's all you need to play. That's just basically saying, right, enough of that. Happy, happy, happy. New Testament. Love everybody.
Yes.
Love everybody, because that's what makes everything happy. This song is an absolute. It's amazing, but it's a bit of a. I was going to say tour de force, but that sounds like I don't think it was a tour de force when I sang it, but it is a tour de force.
It's relentless though, isn't it?
It's relentless. It goes through slow, fast.
Anyway, well, there we go. So that's Tod. What we're going to do is I'll ask John for some recommendations of some recordings, which you can have a think about, John, or I will type in and put in the bottom.
Yeah.
For now, we really hope you've enjoyed listening in on how we talk when we get geeky about music. It's really nice for us to be able to share these sorts of conversations with other people at the moment because we're all locked indoors.
Yeah.
There'll be more Brahms because I think he deserves several outings in this. It just happens to be near the end of the alphabet, so there is some coming. But yeah, do you know what? Like, I think that's a fantastic introduction to him, and for me, it's a pleasure because I've learned a new piece.
Thank you, Tim. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. I mean, I just realised I can literally never shut up about music once given the chance.
I love it. I love it. That's what this is all about. So John and I are going to say goodbye. John, stay on the line because I'm going to stop the recording and we can debrief. But guys, thank you so much. I'd see you tomorrow. I've already recorded tomorrow's because I'm feeling weird and it's all scheduled to go up. So see you tomorrow for day 17, is it? I can't remember days anymore. Bye.